The Roger Pirates are the most powerful and infamous crew in the history of the One Piece world. Yet, despite them being the ones who set in motion the events of the entire manga, the Pirate King's crew has seemingly vanished from the present story. That is until the final saga, where in chapter 1081 we discover that the last Road Poneglyph that you need to reach Laugh Tale is on board a mysterious black ship. This video will go over the idea of this ship being in fact none other than the Oro Jackson, and that the 4th Road Poneglyph is being guarded by the former Roger Pirates. At the end of the Wano arc, Eustace Kid reveals that the missing 4th Road Poneglyph could be connected to a figure known as the Man with the Burn Scar. This is apparently a rumor that is known by multiple New World pirate crews. When Kid is talking about the man, Law gives a look that Robin makes a note of, perhaps indicating that the Heart Pirates have also heard of this man. Later, during a flashback scene, the Blackbeard Pirates also reveal that they've heard of the Man with the Burn Scar being in possession of the last Road Poneglyph. What is interesting to note is that none of these characters seem to know who the man actually is. Based on what little information there is in the story, it can actually already be heavily narrowed down who the Man with the Burn Scar could be. First of all, the man is very likely not affiliated with any of the past or present Yonko. Kaido and Big Mom both indicate that they were in possession of one stone respectively. The Whitebeard Pirates, despite public claims, also had no interest in finding the One Piece. The Blackbeard Pirates have also stated that they do not know who this mysterious figure is. The Straw Hat Pirates clearly have no connection to him, as Luffy did not even know who Kid was talking about when he mentioned the man. The Cross Guild is also very unlikely, as both Buggy and Crocodile were only starting to establish themselves at the beginning of the time skip, a period in which the Man with the Burn Scar was already active. This finally leaves us to Shanks and the Red Hair Pirates. However, even them being allied with the Man with the Burn Scar is not likely. Shanks himself covets the One Piece and is willing to attack other pirate crews to get the Road Poneglyphs. It is very hard to come up with a reason for Shanks deciding to have an operative separate from his main crew holding one of the Poneglyphs. In chapter 1081, Shiryu of the Rain proposes the idea that the world government is actually the organization behind the Man with the Burn Scar. However, this is also very unlikely. The world government should for a fact know that the Road Poneglyphs give the coordinates to reach the final island. Based on Kid and Blackbeard's words, it is also looking very likely for this man to be located in the New World. It would make little sense for the world government to keep one of the Poneglyphs in the area they are the least in control of. This would be particularly strange because Marie Choice already appears to be the place where the government keeps their most high-value articles. If the Man with the Burn Scar is not affiliated with either the Yonko or the government, and if he is stationed in the New World, this would further narrow down his identity to a very few individuals. In the manga, it is many times stated that pirates in the New World have to either join the Yonko or fight the Yonko. As the Man with the Burn Scar is likely not affiliated with the Yonko and has been active for years, he would likely have to be very powerful to have not succumbed to the Emperors. In the current story, there are a scarce few characters who could fit this description. While wildcards such as Shiki and Enel are supposedly still out there in the world, them harboring one of the Road Poneglyphs is very unlikely considering their personal plans. As the Man with the Burn Scar was already active at the start of the time skip, any of the characters who only became active in that point in time such as Uroge or Impel Down's escaped level 6 prisoners are also unlikely. Looking at the identity of the figure in this way, by process of elimination, there genuinely are very few previously introduced characters who could be revealed as the ones on board the black ship other than the former Roger Pirates. From what we know, the Roger Pirates both know of the importance and location of the Road Poneglyphs as they found all of them and used them to get to the final island. The Roger Pirates, even without their captain and first mate, should also still be powerful enough to be able to stay in the New World without getting dominated by the Yonko or the world government. Finally, the Roger Pirates would also have a motive to keep one of the Road Poneglyphs without actively seeking the others. Based on the Oden flashback, the Roger Pirates realized that they arrived at Laugh Tale too early. This is likely what characters like Whitebeard and Crocus meant when they said that Roger and his crew are waiting for certain pirates. Oden's log also indicates that the crew had also somehow gained concrete knowledge of the future, as Oden knew that over 20 years after Roger's execution, the worst generation would come swarming into the New World and change history. In light of this knowledge, it would make sense for the remaining Roger pirates to take one of the Road Poneglyphs so that they could personally test the pirate crew who were trying to reach Laugh Tale. It could in fact be the case that the Roger pirates only resurfaced back to the world scene very recently at the start of the time skip, as they knew the time had come for them to encounter the pirates who were going to surpass them. It could even be that they themselves were the ones who put forth the rumor of the black ship holding the fourth Road Poneglyph, wanting to lure out the man Roger is waiting for. I will also take this opportunity to lure you to press the like button. Clicking it will help me find out if this is the video the YouTube One Piece community has been waiting for. If the Roger pirates only resurfaced during the time skip, it would make sense why, for example, the Gorosei did not mention them after Marineford when listing the pirates who could still defeat Blackbeard. For context, the Gorosei only mentioned Shanks, Kaido, Big Mom and Marco as being powerful enough to fight Teach. While missing both Roger and Rayleigh, the former Roger pirates would still be comparable to the post-war Whitebeard pirates. Next, the video will address the man with the burn scar himself. As both Roger and Rayleigh are absent, the next character to take charge of the Roger pirates would likely be Scopper Gaban, as he seemingly holds the third most authority in the crew. While Scopper had no visible burn scar when the Roger pirates disbanded, he could have received one during the 2 decades after his captain's death. The One Piece story has dozens of characters who can wield fire, some even amongst the strongest characters in the world. Personally, I do not have any solid guesses as to who of these characters could have scarred Scopper. One could perhaps pitch it to be Akainu back when he was only a vice admiral, as it would help build up how powerful Sakazuki was even when he was climbing up the ranks. Based on his actions in Marineford, he also seems to share the government's view about Roger and the people he associated with being a top priority. Another possibility is that it was actually Shanks, as Volume 4 Billion reveals that Shanks has the ability to set his sword afire. While Shanks scarring his former mentor might seem to be against his character, it is not completely impossible. For example, it could have simply been done by accident when the two were sparring. Alternatively, it could be that Shanks is far more serious about going to Laugh Tale than we might have initially thought. An interesting detail is that Scopper's age has never been confirmed in the story. While visibly an adult in the flashback where Bucky ate the Barabara no Mi, it could be that Gaban is still much younger than someone like Rayleigh. Theoretically, if Gaban is still alive in the present story, he could still be in his prime, if he is for example around the age of someone like Kaido. The last detail about Gaban is that he might have deeper roots in the story than simply being the Roger Pirates' number 3 man. According to Sengoku, one of the famous pirates who served under Roxy-Sebek was someone called Silver Axe. Coincidentally, Scopper Gaban's choice of weapon has always been shown to be axes. It could be that after defeating the Roger pirates on God Valley, Roger actually took Scopper aboard as his crewmate 38 years ago. We've already seen that Roger, like Luffy, isn't above making former enemies into his nakama. If true, this would also make Gaban one of the candidates to connect the current story to the God Valley incident via a flashback. The idea this video is going to propose next is that Roger actually left his ship and other valuables to Scopper and his crewmates. We can actually see this in the Oden flashback, where Roger, before leaving the crew, gives his hat to Rayleigh. Rayleigh, however, chose to retire from piracy and stay on Sapodi, which is likely due to his relationship with Saki. As Sapodi is a world government island, Rayleigh naturally couldn't take Roger's ship there as it would draw too much attention. Aside from Rayleigh, it could be that the other senior Roger pirates chose to safeguard Roger's legacy by taking care of the Oro Jackson for all these years. They could also be in possession of Ace, Roger's supreme great sword. There is also the mysterious egg that the Roger pirates carried with them during their journeys, and which was still on board their ship after they'd visited Laugh Tale. However, we know from the manga that the Oro Jackson, unlike the ship Lafitte described, is not black. This could however be by design, both literally and figuratively. After finding the One Piece, the world government supposedly began hunting down anyone involved with Roger, with Kizaru making note of the Roger pirates' crimes being very hard to wipe away. For example, Tom was sentenced to death by the government for simply building the Oro Jackson. It could be that Scopper and the other remaining crew members decided to remodel and repaint the Oro Jackson so that the government would not recognize it as the Pirate King's ship. As a side note, the black ship could actually be a reference to Japanese history, where during the Edo period, The Japanese referred to Western ship that came to the islands as the Black Ships. Alternatively, it could be a reference to the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, where the Black Pearl is a completely pitch black ship. If true, it would certainly not be the first time One Piece has referenced popular Western movies. Getting back to the manga, another thing Luffy mentioned was that any vessels that approach the Black Ship are sunken by whirlpools. As Luffy speculates, this could be because of a devil fruit ability. The story is full of devil fruit powers that are able to manipulate the ocean, such as Aokichi's, Smoothie's, and Oven's powers. However, another explanation is that these whirlpools are in fact caused by a strong fishman. We've seen with Jinbei that the strongest fishmen are able to manipulate water in a way that is able to destroy entire ships. We also know that a fishman named Sunbell was serving in the Roger Pirates. This could be another case of smoke and mirrors in the story, where something that seems to be very supernatural actually has a very natural in-story explanation. Now that the idea of Scopper and the former Roger Pirates holding the last Road Poneglyph has been established, the video will address what their possible role in the story could be. Perhaps the most natural answer is that the Straw Hats will sail to the Black Ship in search of the last Poneglyph. This would certainly be in line with the previously mentioned idea of the Roger Pirates waiting for Luffy with the final stone. However, there is also an alternative to this, where another crew gets to them first. The One Piece story is currently in a battle royale-like place where characters are fighting each other all over the planet. It could actually be that the Red Hair Pirates, the Blackbeard Pirates, or the Cross Guild get to the Black Ship before the Straw Hats, and Luffy will later have to fight them for the final Road Poneglyph. While I am not convinced this is what will happen, there is undeniably story potential in either Shanks or Bucky getting to face off against their former mentor. Still, considering how Luffy during his journey has successively met all of the important members of Roger's crew, it is probably more likely that the Straw Hats would be the ones to reintroduce Scopper to the story. Finally, there is one caveat to this video that I think is worth addressing. Roger quite literally disbanded the Roger Pirates, which could be against the idea of them still operating as a group in the present story. However, them being disbanded does not actually mean that they're forbidden from working together. As Marco says, after their captain dies, the crew are free to do whatever they want, including banding together again. This can also be seen in something like the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, where the Grand Fleet members became Luffy's followers whether he agreed with it or not. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to consider joining a very special pirate crew by becoming a channel member, with the link being found in the description. Also, if you'd like to find out more about the Roger Pirates, you should check out this video, where I go over Shanks' possible hidden fighting style that he could have learned when under Roger. Thanks for watching the video to the end.